Hi, everybody. I'll start in a second. I always start with my live chats with this photo of Abby and Libby, just to remind everybody that this case and trial is about them, as always. And I will start in a second. No, I did not fall asleep. Yeah, the lighting is ridiculous and scary tonight. So, sorry. How do you think I feel? Yeah, so I thought I got a good night's sleep last night, and then it was the DNA analyst talking, and there's usually like a 9 a.m. to 10:30 session before we take a break. And I was starting to fall asleep around like 9:30. And I was like, I cannot go from like 10:45 until noon without maybe falling asleep. So I left. And so I really only have my notes from the first 90 minutes of today. I have no idea what happened after that. People are saying Auntie Gull yelled at somebody for sleeping. It was not me. So I'm getting right to it. It's boring. Like the first page, or so I have 5 pages. So the first part is very boring because it gives like her background. Her name is Stacy Bozanovsky, and it's just kind of boring. So I'm just going to start. This live chat will probably last less than an hour, hopefully. Then I'm sleeping. So October 28th, Judge Gull said the jury had a Saturday activity. She did not say what it was. They had Sunday family time, and she's starting like every session by asking the jury, you've been told not to talk to people outside, you're having supervision from the bailiff or something like that, or the sheriff. So I guess people can check their work email, personal email, call their friends, family. And she says, did you hear anything about the case? They say no. So everybody seems to be being on their best behavior. So the only witness that I saw today was Stacy Bozanovsky. She works at the Indiana State Police labs as a forensic scientist. And she's also a DNA analyst. She examines evidence, including bodily fluids and items from biological sources. She works on a DNA profile and compares it to a potential suspect. Or actually the industry, I guess, or Indiana State Police also, are currently working on new technology, genetic genealogy, including paternity and kinship analysis. So she was being questioned by Jim Luttrell for the prosecution. So Luttrell said, is the field ever changing? And she said, correct. Adding new specialties? Yes. What is your education? A Bachelor of Science in Biology and a Master of Sciences, I think she said forensic science. He asked if she had specialized training. She said serological and DNA analysis, which I think serological means blood analysis. Although before, maybe I said also other bodily fluids. She said she also attends lectures and other things to keep up to date about the latest updates in the industry and technology. He asked if she belonged to professional organizations. She said, I'm a member of the Association of Forensic Scientists and one or two other organizations she mentioned. So that was page 138. We have 143 today. So just a few more pages. As always, I try my best to write the question and the answer. I have to skip some words. If somebody might say answer correct, that is true, instead of me writing correct, that is true, I just write yes. So I'm just trying to get the gist of the questions and answers. So Luttrell continued, the Indiana State Police Lab, is it accredited? She said yes by the ANSI board, ANSI, which I believe is the American National Standards Institute. Next up, Luttrell presented Exhibit 283, which was Bozanovsky's resume. She's had an 18-year career with Indiana State Police. Luttrell, does Indiana State Police Lab have quality control processes? She said yes, it helps ensure accuracy. I did not hear his next question, but she said something about that protocol is required for accreditation. Next up, Luttrell, what are the program features? She discussed quality control, training, education, internal and external audits, calibration of equipment, internal actions, positive and negative controls, protective equipment. I think she said personal protective equipment like gloves and stuff. Also, documentation requirements. Latrell, what is DNA? Her answer is along the lines of biological material that has information that is a blueprint how the body is built and functions. It is passed on from parents. DNA is found in all cellular material. Latrell, DNA work. Oh, I guess he says there a difference between your DNA work and serology, serology. So he said, like, is there a difference between DNA work and serology? She said, serological is the study of bodily fluids. DNA analysis is more individualizing information, and then that helps make conclusions. Can you give an example of sources of DNA? Blood, semen, vomit, fecal matter, urine, and for serological, she said hair and skin cells. Skin, S-K-I-N, not stem, S-T-E-M cells. Latrell asked, what are the top or best sources to get a DNA sample? She said blood, semen, saliva. What are the bottom or worst sources? She said skin cells. It also depends on the quality and quantity of the sample. When analyzing, you're not identifying it. I'm not sure about that question. Her answer was serological will show a match. I also was not sure of her answer. I'm sorry. Can you tell when a DNA positively something? She said no, not a test to timestamp a DNA profile. So maybe he said, can you tell when DNA was released? I'm not sure what he said. His next question was something about a DNA profile. Her answer was list of numbers. Okay, sorry. Something about a DNA profile, list of numbers makes up the markers I am analyzing. Latrell, how do you identify bodily fluids? She said she does a serological exam and a quick test requiring addition of 2 chemical components. And then she does a second test, which is more specific. So he said, what is the first stage finding out if it is a bodily fluid? First, she screens out samples that are not bodily fluids. He said something about DNA analysis, and she said there are several stages: extraction, add chemicals, then quantification, which is how much human DNA and how much male DNA, M-A-L-E DNA. Third is amplification. She said PCR and millions of copies of markers of DNA. Then the DNA is separated by size and electrical current, and then she can translate results. He then said, what is a gene, G-E-N-E? She said small non-coding segment of DNA. The next word, he said allele. I wrote A-L-E-E-L. I'm not sure the proper spelling or what it is, but Latrell said something about allele, and Bozanovsky said variant/forms expressed of gene. Next one was a locus. Again, I'm not sure. I was just like writing out what I thought I heard him say. So a locus, and then Bozanovsky said that is the location of gene on DNA. Latrell, why is DNA analysis important? She said DNA is a highly variable. What? Her answer was that DNA highly variable among people, helps identify people. Page 140 of 143. I did not hear Latrell's question, but her answer was single source. So I guess a single source sample of DNA, express DNA profile consistent with single individual, able to determine confidently that it was one person who created this DNA profile. Next up is mixture, DNA profile from 2 or more individuals. Luttrell said, if you can't determine something, I did not hear the rest of his question. She replied, assess biological artifacts in DNA. And I wrote, how many contributors? Luttrell asked about the type of results. Stacy Bozanovsky said, quantification, how much human DNA, how much male DNA. If not enough human or male DNA, then the sample cannot go on to the other stages of analysis. If there is enough, it may be suitable for determination, comparison, and then yield results, which would include or exclude people as potential matches. She said sometimes it's inconclusive. He said, were you asked to examine items in February 2017? Yes, and she said the lab case number that she started working on related to this case. He then said, did you have a result or report on March 7th, 2017? She said, yes. Can you please look at that report? It's exhibits 174 and 175. And so she examined that for this case. So she had like a box that she was holding, and it was revealed that those exhibit 174, 175 were sexual assault evidence collection kits. So 174 was for Abby, 175 Libby. So Stacy said, yes, I went through the evidence. The results were, some of these terms are, let's just say, adult and sensitive nature. So be warned. So she said the results for Abby and Libby were vaginal wash, a swab, oral, anal, genital, fingernail, head hair combing, combing, pubic hair for Libby, not for Abby, serological exam for semen. There was no semen. And then she said, with the exception of vaginal, possible presence, but not confirmed. I'm not sure about that, so don't jump to conclusions on that. I'm not sure if I wrote that down wrong. So I wrote serological exam for semen, no semen, with exception vaginal dash possible presence, but not confirmed. So I'm not sure exactly what she said. Continuing with Stacy, DNA analysis, male DNA present in sample, but then I wrote no male DNA. So again, I'm not sure exactly what she was conveying there. But then she said exception, one external genital swab from Abby and Libby, and one fingernail of each sex assault kit. Male DNA, but insufficient for further analysis. No DNA profiles developed for a man or a third party, other than Abby and Libby. Luttrell asked her next question, both victims presumptive positive for semen. Stacy said it didn't confirm for the kit. It was a choice to conserve the sample for DNA profile analysis. Another serological test wasn't the wisest next step. So I guess they have limited quantity, as she said, and I guess they had a choice to do maybe a semen analysis or a DNA analysis, and they decided they only had enough to try a DNA analysis, which I guess did not yield enough results. He said, Luttrell said, what was the result of DNA on the cervical/vaginal? She said something about swabs, no male DNA. Luttrell, areas of male DNA were not enough to develop the profile? And she said, yes, that's correct. There was not enough to develop a profile. Luttrell asked something about the fingernail. I didn't hear the question nor the answer. I believe he next said, did you do an exterior swab of genitals? And she said, yes, they did that swab. Page 141 of 143. I wrote male DNA indicator from a male perpetrator of the crime. I guess he said, is there any kind of male DNA indicator from a male perpetrator of the murders? Her answer was no. DNA in fingernail and external genital swab. But after that, she said, An external genital swab can have contact with clothing, or DNA will transfer from laundry or sharing of clothing. So she said if somebody, a female or anybody, shares a home or dishwasher, not dishwasher, laundry machine with a male, the male DNA could transfer to even their body parts. So she seemed to say, don't really read into, I shouldn't say don't read into it too much, but she just said there are other ways for this male DNA to transfer to a female. Exhibits 170 through 173 and 151 to 155 were items that Stacy examined. They also referenced exhibits 149, 150, and 156. Luttrell said, all items you examined, did you record who you received them from? And she said, yes, these were from Sergeant Olahai, who, remember, he was the main crime scene investigator at the crime scene. So he bagged them up and sent it to her, to Stacy, on February 17th, 2017. Except her item numbers 17, 18, 27 went for trace examination first, then she got them. But I did not hear what those 3 items were. Luttrell went back to these evidence collection kits. I wrote down, in addition to exam on unknowns. Stacy replied, I also received DNA blood standards for Abby and Libby, and she used it as known samples for victims. Luttrell said, can you describe your results? So I'm about to describe a lot of these results. This is Stacy. She was referencing lab numbers 1, 2, 8, 9, which I believe are state exhibits 170 to 173. Swabs from Libby, blood detected. A lot of this stuff, I'm sorry, it's just like as quick as I could write it. So swabs from Libby, blood detected. Item 2, possible blood, not enough sample. DNA analysis, looking for male DNA. No male DNA on Libby's thigh. Her left thigh or breast had insufficient amount of male blood DNA. So that sounds confusing. Like it might have had, Libby may have had male blood on her breast. I'm not sure if I wrote that down wrong or interpreted it wrong. So I would say, please don't think that there was male blood on Libby's body or DNA. I may have written this down wrong. So next sample, swabs of Libby. Stacy said she would do a visual observation of a blood stain, and there was possible presence of blood on Libby's left wrist and right wrist, her thigh, and blood confirmed as present. That's all I wrote, which I think is Libby's. She said, item 27, fibrous material, human hair on Libby's left pinky, but there was no root on the hair, so was not able to check for DNA. She continued, swabs, look for male DNA on items 20, 21, 26. No male DNA. Item 22, slight male DNA, but insufficient. I'm sorry, I don't know what her item 22 was. Clothing or a swab of a body part. Items 17 and 18, fibrous material, Abby's hand and left arm. Also a swab from a tree. That is item 28, I believe. So she said she looked under a microscope at these fibers, and item 17 had 2 hairs. Both were human with root. She did a DNA analysis. Root at first hair, I wrote DNA profile consistent with unknown female. Not consistent. I don't know about that. I'm sorry. Second hair, not enough DNA. Item 18, root, not enough DNA. Swab of the tree, which I guess is the F, quote unquote, F tree. That's item 28. So the crime scene swabbed the tree and then sent it to Stacy, crime scene investigator. So swab of that tree for blood, possible presence, DNA profile consistent with Libby. Luttrell asked, was there further examination on Abby's right finger of the hair and it being female? Stacy said yes. Compared to the Abby and Libby standards or samples of their DNA, not conclusive, but some similarities of Libby could be a biological relative of Libby. Luttrell, in March 2017, you received Exhibit 204. Stacy said yes, it was a DNA standard or sample from Libby's father, Derek. Page 142 of 143. Did you develop a profile for Libby's father, Derek? Yes. Any more information from that in relation to the hair found on Abby, on her hand? Stacy said, I already determined female relative. Derek's profile supported it was a relative of Libby. Yeah, this lighting looks horrible. Who cares? Anyway, Luttrell said, was there a narrow relationship? Stacy said some consistencies with biological relatives or a relative of Derek German, Libby's father. Next question from Luttrell. Abby was wearing Libby's sweatshirt. Stacy said yes. I told investigators, but I did not put it in a report. So I think what she was saying there was she maybe did not put in the report that the hair could have been from Libby's relatives, not just about Abby wearing Libby's sweatshirt. Because I guess some people have said that Abby was was found with her arms like this, or this maybe, and the ends of Libby's sweatshirt was covering her hand. So maybe a hair from Libby's family member got on her hand that way somehow. So Luttrell said, this month or September 2024, did you get a DNA sample from Libby's sister, Kelsey? Stacy said, yes, I received DNA from Kelsey. The conclusion was that I guess the hair on Abby's hand was consistent with Kelsey. She said, I believe either 1 in 8 trillion individuals or it was either 8 trillion or 800 trillion. So it seems like pretty much it was Kelsey's hair. Luttrell talked about Exhibit 148. Stacy said she received at the same time as the autopsy. Exhibit 148 is the cartridge from the crime scene. At this time, Richard Allen yawned. Luttrell, what condition was this cartridge in? She said, I wrote down notes, sealed bag with an envelope inside the sealed bag. Loose debris also in this envelope, essentially dirt. So she said she was going to open the envelope and take out the one cartridge. On the top of the cartridge, it said Winchester 40 S&W for Smith & Wesson. She also continued talking about debris on the actual cartridge and also within this envelope that fell off the cartridge. So debris, plant material, dirty, no serological analysis. She took one swab of this cartridge. She referenced a brown or dirt stain, and she tried to collect skin cells off of this cartridge. Luttrell said, did you remove dirt during the swab? She said, yes, there is a process to wet the swab with a drop of water to remove dirt to try and get some samples. So at this point, Luttrell said, please open the package that had this unspent round from the crime scene. So Stacy put on gloves and opened the envelope. She said the paper she performed her exam on was also included in this envelope in case it may have some kind of debris that might help in the future. So she opened the envelope and took out the cartridge. Again, she said the head stamp said Winchester 40 S&W for Smith & Wesson. Luttrell asked, did you look for a latent print, like a fingerprint? She said yes, but a cartridge is a small item. It is nearly impossible to do both. So I guess like DNA analysis and also for fingerprints. She decided to do the DNA analysis instead of fingerprint. She visually examined it for prints, but did not see any when she tried to observe it. I think Latrell said, what is your success rate in your office with DNA and unspent cartridges, like finding DNA off of these unspent cartridges? Stacy said, it depends on quantity and quality. My swabbing collects skin cells. Cartridges are not successful, and since 2017, I guess she said Indiana State Police have removed she said remove them for analysis from our lab due to the success rate, which I guess is low. So I guess they're no longer swabbing unspent cartridges for skin cells or fingerprints. Latrell, what are the results on the cartridge? Stacy said she took a swab. The DNA result was insufficient for analysis. Next up was Latrell asking about Abby's Converse sneakers. She said, I examined them. They're exhibits 146 and 147. Also, exhibit 177 is Libby's sweatshirt. Exhibit 178 are Libby's jeans, which are the brand Maurice. So Latrell said, what are the results of the Converse? She said the shoes had discoloration, no blood on item 14, which is her item number, not the court exhibit. She said she took 8 swabs of the shoe. Item 15 had blood on the outside tongue of the Converse. She said she took 8 swabs. 1 swab from 14 was consistent with Abby's DNA. Again, she says something about once in 8 trillion. So essentially, it's Abby's DNA on the Converse sneaker. She took 1 swab of item 15. It was a mix of 2 individuals. She said Abby and Libby could not be ruled out of that mixed sample on the Converse sneaker. She continued, swabs from shoes, partial DNA. I wrote others dash no conclusion because failed quantification. Detecting inhibition on the swabs of the shoe. So then Latrell said, can you talk about inhibition and degradation? She said inhibition is when swabs cannot be analyzed. You can detect DNA but not get a result for interpretation because limited information in the sample. Latrell asked for a source of inhibition, and she said for items 14 and 15, the shoe, the Converse shoe, had heavy amount of soil, dirt, and plant materials on the shoe. She said it was also very dirty on every part of the shoe, so the dirt was embedded in the fabric. Final half page, 143. Item 15 was the left shoe, the Converse. Blood, again, she said the blood was detected in the tongue of the shoe, mix of 2 individuals. Major profile was Libby. Again, she said 1 in 8 trillion. The minor profile was Abby, 1 in 66 million. Latrell asked any other findings for the Converse shoes. She said Stacy did a visual exam, collected hair, not consistent with human hair. So I know that the Germans, Libby's family got a new puppy. So I'm not sure if it was puppy hair or what. Next up, Latrell asked about the black hoodie sweatshirt. So that's Libby's sweatshirt that was found on Abby. What were the results? Stacy said it was heavily saturated with a red stain. Heavy plant material like salt, dirt, sand from crossing the creek. After that, she used an alternative light source and saw blood but no semen. She took 11 cutting samples. So I guess she, I don't know, got scissors and cut up the sweatshirt to hopefully find some evidence. I just wrote down blood areas, then 3 swabs from the cuff, sleeve, and pocket of Libby's sweatshirt. She did a microscopic exam of the hairs. I wrote down the word root, and then I wrote DNA. 8 of the 11 were consistent with Abby. The other 3 were a mix of 2 people, and she could not exclude both Abby and Libby. So it does not seem like there's another male's like significant amount of DNA, not just Libby's family, and not Richard Allen, but not any other third party male who could have done this. We're almost done. Hair in sufficient quantity was the question from Latrell. Stacy said only one swab of the cuff was consistent with Abby. The pocket and sleeve had a mixture, and she was not able to determine who it was. Final item, the Maurice brand jeans that Abby was wearing that belonged to Libby. Stacy did a visual exam, and there's a lot of heavy dirt on the jeans, mud. And Stacy said, you can't see under dirt. There was no semen on the jeans, possible blood. A DNA analysis was taken of 10 cuttings of these jeans, plus 2 swabs on the zipper and I think she said the crotch area. I wrote here, hair on the jeans with a root, but the hair was not sufficient for a sample apparently. The jeans, I wrote consistent with Abby, a second mix of 2 people, Libby and a laboratory worker is what Stacy said. So I'm not sure what that laboratory worker thing is. I highly doubt it's blood. Also, if they're in a lab, shouldn't they be wearing gloves and not transferring DNA? I wrote others not sufficient. Finally, swabs from jeans not sufficient. Inside jeans, the major source of any kind of DNA was from Libby and the minor source from Abby. At this point, there was a sidebar, which is where Gull, McClelland, and I think Auger went in the corner. And Gull said, all right, we're going to take our morning break. And at that point, I was like, there's no way I'm not going to fall asleep in the next section. So I just left for like 20 minutes and came back after a short nap. And we were waiting on the first floor to get the afternoon session to come out. And at 12:30, they were still in there. And it seemed like somebody said the prosecution was still interviewing the DNA analyst. So the defense had not even gone. So I was like, I don't think I'm going to learn anything this afternoon listening to the defense ask questions of this DNA analyst who seems to say they found no usable male DNA. So that's that. We're at 34 minutes. I might go another like 10 minutes and then I have to go to bed. I'm sorry. This is a rough 10 days. I'm just going back here to see. No, Tom needs to sleep, not wake up. There's 420 people watching, so happy doobie day. Hi, Susan. Let's see. I did go to Dairy Queen last night, and I got a strawberry sundae and a M&M Blizzard. I really think the workers at Dairy Queen are saying, we've never seen this guy before, and he's been here like almost every day. And he gets 2 items, but he's only by himself. This lighting is horrible. Anyway, whatever. I don't take myself seriously. JM, yeah, I won't say that out loud, but that's a point. However, I think just because they did not find the underwear and 1 sock, I think it could be possible that those were like the only 2 items that actually floated all the way down the creek to a point that police never even checked. So I don't know that the underwear and sock missing mean that bridge guy took it away from the scene and kept it as a souvenir or threw it in some garbage. Peace Train, I do think the creek water washed the DNA away. I just don't understand any other reason why bridge guy would go to the creek and dunk these clothing items under the water and want to let them go. I do not think Abby and Libby were carrying these items and they just happened to all let them go as they were walking up the end of the or the start of the bank. However, I mean, that's like a lot of clothing items in the creek. So how would Bridge Guy even be touching Libby's tie-dye shirt that was inside out, Abby's jeans that were inside out, her underwear, Libby's one sneaker, some kind of handkerchief, one sock? I mean, that seems like a lot of items for Bridge Guy to even touch. Hi, Lisa. I think all the little breadcrumbs of circumstantial evidence add up to a lot, even without DNA. I do agree with you. But I do want to see the 127 car that seems to be his, according to police. Hi, Sienna. Richard Allen did not have much hair to leave behind. Not like me with all my hair that I leave behind everywhere. Yeah, I mean, he said he wore a skull cap and a hoodie. He had short hair. I don't know. I don't know that you have to leave any kind of DNA at a crime scene for murder. I mean, I think it can be done without transferring. Hi, Josh the Posh. Hi, Moonchild. I'm sure Richard Allen was wearing gloves, plus the water from the creek and the girls' bodies out in the elements all night got washed away. Like I said, I just don't know that he had to have or anybody, any bridge guy, had to have transferred any kind of DNA. T Rose says everything with DNA has been locked away, and once tech catches up, they can retest. Test, sorry. Hi, Stephanie. Stephanie says lack of evidence is evidence. I mean, that's a good point. However, I just don't think that there has to be like a ton of evidence for every interaction between two people that ends in a murder or a double murder. Especially since we know, like, apparently Bridge Guy did have a gun and they were stabbed. So it's not like it was a wrestling match. I'm not saying that to you, I'm just saying in general. Hi, Deedees. The defense sure made a big deal about the nothing burger hair. I mean, yeah, it turned out to be probably Kelsey's from her sweatshirt. Josh the Posh, did they not test the hair because it was long and assumed not related to the crime? I think Holman said, or maybe Holman said, we did not have a female suspect, so we did not think that it was relevant. And I guess at some point, even I think they said March 2017, they knew it was probably a family member of Libby. T. Rose, also outdoor crime scenes are not great for DNA collection. Sienna says, yes, Abby had stayed the night there, was in Kelsey's car, not shocking her hair transferred to Abby. I'm almost certain that as they were leaving, Kelsey said to Abby, it's cold, go inside and get my gray sweatshirt. May not be correct, but I'm almost certain I heard that. Hi, JM. Did Richard Allen have a buzz cut or a shaved head in February 2017? Yes, apparently he's had a short haircut for a long time. Hi, Be Free. Is Abby's mom there? She was there this morning, and maybe 2 or 3 times over the past few days. There were a few days where I did not see her, but that doesn't mean she wasn't there. JM said, I heard that they have his Google searches that the prosecution is using. There was only one quick reference to that, and I think there needs to be more. They said that someone in that household did search for news about the Delphi murders, but they could not determine if it was Rick or his wife. However, they didn't even say the dates and how often it was searched or the specific terms that were searched. I think that's important for the jury to know. High glow with the flow. Where did they find the Converse shoes? Those were what Abby was wearing, but she did not have her socks on. Hi, Daisy. Yeah. The Nike sneaker in Deer Creek was Libby's, and the other shoe for Libby was under Abby's body on top of Libby's cell phone. Hi, Susan. Wonder if he chloroformed them, cloth over nose and mouth to subdue them. Well, it seems very odd that Abby had no blood on her hands, but she was killed by having her neck cut. So why would she not instinctively grab her neck? But it seems like there's been no, as far as I've seen, there's been no reference to any kind of testing of, like you said, chloroform. Hi, Bernie. You're welcome. Yeah, I want to find out who fell asleep. Like I said, I've not gotten any updates since I left at 10:30 this morning. Yeah, I need to sleep really soon. I'll go for another 5 minutes. So, Lawyer Lee and Andrea Burkhart and Beyond the Evidence were in the courtroom today. If you want to check out their YouTube channels, they should have more information than I do today. I understand, Blue. Did you get the belt buster at Dairy Queen? I didn't see it on the menu. Laura said, tell the Dairy Queen workers to mind their own business. Yeah, they should be lucky I'm funding their college educations. I'm not eating like breakfast or lunch, so I'm not gaining weight. Not gaining weight. Hi, Betsy Ross. I hope they circle back to the phone issue. I want to know if he got a new phone after the murders from his provider. I think that's a great comment. And law enforcement like hasn't said on the stand any more details about his phone. They said we did not find his 2017 phone, but they never said, oh, we asked the provider at what date did he change his phone or his phone number. It doesn't make sense to me. Like 3 more comments, then I have to go to sleep. I'm sorry. Susan Lee, this is a good question. So we heard, I guess, Robert Ives, the former prosecutor, said there were a few signatures found at the crime scene. So I don't know, maybe the sticks, Abby wearing Libby's clothes. Um, I don't know that you would consider the blood on the tree to be a signature. I believe the next person to testify is going to be Cicero, who is the blood spatter expert. Unless you testify this afternoon if they finished early. I'm so tired. Anyway. CJK, hi. Fox 59 News. Libby had a tiny drop of liquid on her cheek, and when they asked the DNA specialist what that could be, she said it was a tear that had fallen from her eye as she was dying. Oh my God. Yeah, I had wondered if they could test if the girls did have tears on their faces. Hi, Shell Bell. I want to know where the wife was that day, work or out of town. Was she home that night? Did he do the laundry? How was he acting? Was he missing any clothing after that day? It was revealed that she was at work. She was not away with her mother or anything. I'll do 3 more comments. I can barely see with my contacts. I don't know. I'm just so tired. My eyes are tired. Hi, Mellow Wello. It's possible that the perpetrator instructed one of the girls to wear the other's clothes as he was assaulting the other to keep the other occupied. Well, the thing is, there was no signs of them being assaulted. So why is Libby not wearing any clothes and Abby is not wearing her socks, but she was walking around because she had dirt on the bottom of her feet, unless it was from walking across the creek and dirt got in that way. I just don't understand how this all played out. Hi, Purdue RN. Thank you so much for your generosity. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Daisy. I appreciate it. Hi, another Amy. Thanks for becoming a member. I'll do a member live chat this Saturday after Saturday's hearing. Hi, Daisy. Thank you. Thank you, Jocelyn. Thank you, Misty. I appreciate it. Oh. Thank you, Bamison. Yeah, I mean, the hardest part is like just not getting sleep and going there early and shivering in the cold for hours. Like if I could wake up at 8 and roll in there at 8:45, it wouldn't be so horrible. Hi, TJ. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you, Silverleaf and Sharon and Kimmy, the Canadian Canuck. Thank you. Finally, thank you, Nicole. I appreciate it. Seriously, thank you, everybody, for your generosity. Like I said, it's been a rough almost 2 weeks of not really sleeping, but obviously it's horrible for the families. I'm not asking for any sympathy, but as you can tell, I'm a mess. Hi, Riley. They need to bring in MVAC that has the ability to collect between 5 and 100 times more DNA. It has helped solve many cold cases. I would not be surprised if the defense said, "Did you bring in MVAC?" And they would say no. The police would say no. Glow with the flow. Did we get the medical examiner yet? I mean, is the evidence in about head trauma or toxicology? The autopsies were done already last week, or the guy, Dr. Kaur, and there was no mention of any kind of head injury. Libby did have head swelling, but nothing for Abby that would indicate she was unconscious when she was stabbed. All right, I'll get the inside scoop tomorrow when I'm waiting in line. One final comment, or two, I guess. Laura, were the cot ladies there today? Yes, they were. They're very nice. Final one. Susan, do you think it's possible that Abby intentionally hid the phone under her shoe? No, I don't, because there was the shoe on the ground, then Libby's sneaker, then Abby's body, and Abby really did not seem to move after she was killed. So I don't know how she would have really done that. All right, I'm sorry, but I have to go to sleep. So I'll see you tomorrow. Hopefully I'll have a full day of testimony around 6:30 p.m. or soon after we get out of court. Thank you and good night. Bye.